Ladies and gentlemen, you're not seeing things. This is a special edition of the Bama Standard. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Jump in the live chat. We're only going to be here for a short amount of time. If you're watching a replay, let us know what you think in the comment section below. I'm Justin Riley, and with me today is my co-host, the senior analyst of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, Stephen M. Smith. And Stephen, we got some news. Just moments ago, both Traeshon Holden and Christian Leary announced their intention to jump in the transfer portal. Came as a shock to us right away, but after a little bit of time to reflect, the fact that Christian Leary wasn't given an opportunity this year is absolute crime. And you kind of thought in the back of your mind that with the development of the young guys and the fact that he just wasn't given that shot, that the transfer portal was inevitable. And then as we start to think about Traeshon Holden, didn't really live up to the potential in many people's eyes this year, but we still kind of felt that maybe he'd come back and work on his craft. But off the top of your head, Stephen, man, out of these two, what's the most surprising?
I think the most surprising would be Christian Leary, just due to this was a young man that came out of Edgewater High School in Orlando, Florida, in the 2021 class, elite four-star, 10.5, 100-meter dash track speed. I mean, he came in the same class with Ja'Cory Brooks, with JoJo Earl, and with Ajay Hall. And we all kind of were looking at that 2021 class as a special wide receiver class. And Leary was an emergency running back his freshman year. But of course, the spring game this past spring, 5 catches, 106 yards, including a 52-yard touchdown reception from Jalen Milroe. And we had high hopes for Leary just due to the speed and his athleticism. And all season, fans kept asking, where's Bama's speed guy? Where's the guy that can take a top off a defense? Where's the Jamison Williams, Jalen Waddle-esque, the speed talent, Henry Ruggs, throw him in there as well. Well, you had him, and Christian Leary, Bill O'Brien would not let this brother touch the field. And I'm not understanding why. You played Kobe Prentice, which, Kobe Prentice, very fine young man, very fine talent. You played Kendrick Law, you played Isaiah Bond, and nothing wrong with those 3 freshmen. But you look at Christian Leary, a guy that's got that type of speed, and you want to utilize every player. He was not. And I can understand why he would want to pursue elsewhere, because he feels like, hey, if I'm not getting used, if I'm not having the opportunity, why stay around when my talent here is being wasted? And we're seeing a mass exodus here in the month of November. 6 names for Alabama in the portal, with 3 of those names today. When you discuss Trey Sanders, Kyrie Jackson, Damian George Jr., offensive lineman, Christian Leary, Tanner Bowles, another offensive lineman, and now Traeshon Holden. So 6 names in. I would not be surprised. Expect to see more names jump in as we continue through this offseason. And expect to see Saban clean house with some coaches. We could see some coaches out of here at the end of this bowl game. So 6 names already in, but the name I'm the most surprised by, definitely Christian Leary, because of all the potential he would have brought, but just not having his chance.
I completely agree. I get he was a young guy, but last year he really showed a lot of versatility, especially when he was asked to come in to serve as an emergency running back, and proved very successful at that when called upon. But we knew that his true shot was going to come in the spring and ultimately 2022. However, that didn't come to pass. I mean, we thought A-Day game was a good measuring stick of what we could possibly see coming into this season. But just as you said, he wasn't utilized. It blows my mind with the amount of talent this young man has, and like the speed that we are desperately begging for throughout the season to take the top off the defense, that surely this man would get an opportunity. And what's really is frustrating is that as much as our wide receivers struggled this year, he wasn't injected into it to try to be given that chance and actually inject life into the passing game. And here we are, today, finding out the news that this man has had enough, and I understand it. I get he wants to better himself. He wants to achieve his goals, ultimately get to the NFL. If he's not being given the opportunity here, then he needs to go somewhere where, he can do that. But, Traeshon Holden, a guy that I really believed in, showed flashes, but, I think you said in previous podcasts that he kind of had to let the game catch up to him. But I kind of felt like this year was going to be that year, but it didn't quite materialize. Off the top of your head, what would you say kind of didn't work for him?
I'm gonna say this. You wonder, and especially when you look at when these guys come in as recruits in these recruiting rankings, how good are they really? Like, how good are they truly? And here's a Traeshon Holden at 6'3", but at times didn't play like it. At times did not use that 6'3" body to shield defenders away from the ball, attack the ball at its highest point, play in the air. There are a lot of these receivers that play on the ground with their speed and whatnot. But when you're 6'3", you play to the air, man. You go up and you attack the football. And there are moments where I did not see Holden do that. And when he dropped passes, there were several passes that Traeshon just dropped. Hit him dead in his hands and could not finish the play. And several of those moments, Bryce Young is looking dead at him. And I know Bryce is smiling because he's cool, calm, and collected. But I wonder at times, how many times did Bryce Young just in his mind go, I trusted you and you are not catching the football. I'm smiling to hide the pain. I'm smiling to hide the frustration. I'm smiling to hide some words that I really want to say to you right now, but I can't say to you because we're on national TV. Yeah. But, I mean, Bryce Young, you could tell, whenever Traeshon Holden dropped the ball, would get just visibly frustrated. So to me, it's, how good was Traeshon really when he came in this recruiting class in 2020? Because it's disappointing. It is immensely disappointing.
Yeah, and I agree. And the thing is, if you look at it, you saw that look from Bryce Young throughout the season because these wide receivers just were not, catching on. That switch just wasn't turning on. And I think he was really counting on Traeshon being the veteran of the group to really step it up this year. And he just never did do that. And like you mentioned, he was making key drops, if at points in the game, they were very pivotal. And had he made those catches, it probably could have changed the trajectory of some of the games, like Tennessee, for instance. I mean, he dropped a wide open pass on a slant route. Quite honestly, could have housed it, and that kind of would have changed everything, how the flow was going. But it's very disappointing in terms of his development and then also his decision to leave. But we have these young guys coming in, and, we have yet to see what their ceiling is just because we're not quite sure where we are in terms of a offensive coordinator. And if, like you said, that there are going to be some changes here in the offseason, who's going to come in and what can he possibly do, with this group of guys? You hope that, Riley, if it's Garrett Riley coming in, I think that's our number one guy. If he gets his hands on these wide receivers, then the sky's the limit. We're probably looking at something similar to what we experienced with Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin. But, you mentioned earlier as far as keeping your eye on more names coming out of the transfer portal. One particular position group I'm looking at and I'm kind of nervous about is the running back room. Do you feel like we'll have any more running backs depart from that running back room and hit the transfer portal?
I don't see it at running back. It'll be a shocker if it does come at that position. I don't see it. However, I do see another receiver. Could be Thaiu Jones-Bell, and I would hate that for him because I remember scouting him out myself at one of the All-America practices in Florida. The guy had tremendous potential, but unfortunately just buried on the depth chart there. So I could see Thaiu Jones-Bell headed out. We could see a one or two more offensive linemen that could take that leave out of the program. We could see an outside linebacker or two leave. We could see a defensive back or two leave. But I don't see anybody at running back. I think Jahmyr Gibbs may actually go pro, which opens the door for Jason McClellan to be the number one back. And then he and Roydell Williams can kind of share that role. I really like Jamarian Miller.
Yeah.
I think next season could be really big for him. I mean, you bring in a Richard Young and a Justice Haynes. Should both of those two hang onto their commitments and sign on? So I don't see a running back leaving.
Okay, and one name that was just mentioned in the chat here was Malachi Moore. Are you confident that he is going to remain? Do you feel like he'll try his luck at the NFL, or maybe go the route of his teammates here and maybe look at the transfer portal?
I think Malachi stays. I think he needs to stay because you look at what does Brian Branch do after this year. I know a lot of people think that Branch should, come back and work on the coverage skills, but Branch has a skill set that could really work at the NFL level should he choose to go, especially with his blitzing ability coming off the edge, his ability to help out there in run support. Now, Branch could come back and play safety with Jordan Battle and DeMarco Helms both leaving after this year. Just depends on what does Brian Branch do. But I feel like with Malachi Moore, Alabama fans would love to see him return to what he was able to do as a freshman. He had injuries in his sophomore year that came at the wrong time that really, truly hurt him. And this year, he's had some good moments, but still trying to work his way back. I feel like you want to see Malachi return just to see can he get back to what he was able to accomplish in his first year in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, absolutely. And one last thing before we kind of close up shop, bowl practice will take place here shortly. Of course, we still have an outside chance that we may make the playoff if, in fact, chaos does ensue. But either way, we have one more game, and you kind of are hoping that with this one more game and the likelihood being New Year's 6, we would have got to see some of these young guys like a Christian Leary get that opportunity to kind of show themselves and with meaningful reps. Now that these guys have departed, what does that kind of mean, in terms of the bowl game and hopefully maybe a playoff appearance?
I think you're gonna still have some young guys at Justin that will get those reps. I mean, you look at number one at the quarterback room. If Bryce Young does not play, a whole bunch of people are saying Bryce Young should play. You're a competitor, you should play. But if he chooses to sit this game out in terms of his NFL future, here's a shot. Ty Simpson, Jalen Milroe. Who won it? Who's the quarterback to open next season? Who's the quarterback to open next spring? I mean, so there's a big chance for Milroe and Ty Simpson. You look at the wide receiver room. I mean, here's a game where Kobe Prentice, Isaiah Bond, Chaz Preston, Kendrick Law can get big reps going into next spring and next season. You look at a tight end, Amari Niblack. Big moment for him in bowl prep, especially with Cameron Latu moving on after this season. Offensive line, guys like Tyler Booker, getting a shot right here in a big moment. J.C. Latham improving his craft even more. So, I mean, on the defensive side, several young guys would have that chance. Guys like Deontay Lawson, guys like Kendrick Blackshire. Could we see Jahad Campbell, Sean Murphy get opportunities in there at linebacker? A guy like Keanu Coate as an outside backer. A guy like Jeremiah Alexander. Could he get a shot in there? Guys like Curtis Perry on the defensive line. Does he get a shot in there? In the secondary, Earl Little Jr., Devontae Smith. So many young guys. Christian Story. So many young guys. This is their chance here in this bowl prep to get work in, to get reps in, to show Coach Saban and the staff, I'm ready for next spring. I'm ready for next season. So this is a big bowl prep opportunity for a lot of these young faces in here.
Absolutely. But folks, that's going to do it for us. We appreciate you jumping on. Again, just wanted to report the news. Alabama wide receivers Traeshon Holden and Christian Leary have entered the transfer portal. No longer with the team. They have decided to take the next chapter of their lives somewhere else. But as always, stay up to date with the current Alabama news here at the Bama Standard, as well as Touchdown Alabama magazine. For Stephen M. Smith and Justin Riley, roll Tide. Yes, sir.